Happy Friday, happy Friday, happy Friday. Welcome to a new episode of Social Media Scene. There is a lot to talk about this day. On tap for today, lots of news with Instagram and TikTok. Yeah, auto generated captions, got to talk about that. Also, IGTV, the separate app, out of here. We'll talk about that. And of course, this new investigation into the impact TikTok has on young minds. All of that and more is coming up next. Don't go anywhere. I will be right back. Happy Friday, happy Friday, happy Friday. It has been a hectic morning. Let's get this music out of here right quick. Let's go ahead and do that. Fade that out real pretty. Welcome to a new episode of the Social Media Scene. Let me first apologize for all the stop and starts. It has been a crazy, crazy morning. Lot of different things going on production wise. But you know what? As we say, the show must go on. That's right. So I do apologize for all the stops and starts and stops and starts, but third time hopefully will be the charm. So welcome to a new episode of the Social Media Scene. I am Alice Fuller, principal consultant at Sheer Social. Now, if you're wondering who are you and why should I bother to give you any of my attention, well, here's what I do day to day. I do social media management training and consulting. Yeah, I do some updates of profiles and management of profiles and that too, but primarily these days I do more teaching and consulting. That's where I hang out mostly these days. So welcome. This right here is a social media scene. This is where week to week I share with you what is going on in the world of social media. Now, I can't share with you every blessed thing because some things you probably wouldn't even care about anyway, but how we use social media primarily for business and our day to day. And when I can, I like to add a little entertainment flavor, a little television and film to the conversation. Why? Because if you haven't figured it out, television, traditional media, social media, it's all just content now. Okay. So in a minute, we'll stop separating them because at this point right now, they are literally working together in many instances. It's a little friendly, sometimes non friendly competition. So that is what we're going to talk about here on the social media scene. What is going on in the world of social media? And today, this week specifically, lot of buzz around Instagram, a lot of buzz around TikTok. As to why? Well, here's what we're going to talk about today. Today, we're going to talk about auto generated captions. That'll make life easier for a lot of content creators. Yay. Also, today, we're definitely going to talk about uh, the end of IGTV. Now, I told you about this kind of, sort of, a couple of weeks ago, but this is the separate app. The separate IGTV app is out of here, gone. Well, in a couple of weeks, gone. Why? I'll tell you in just a second. Also today, TikTok. TikTok is making things longer. The irony is one platform is making things shorter and the and the other is making things longer. But I'll tell you more about that in just a second. And this investigation. You've probably heard in the news there's a whole new investigation regarding TikTok and the impact it has on young minds. I'm going to share my 2 cents on that too in just a few because I have a clip that I want to show you with some television people talking about social media. Yeah. So that's on tap for today. If I can get it all together and remember to look into the right camera. So let's get started. All right. So can't get started without my clapboard. Clap on, clap off. There you go. There's the clapper. All right. So Now that we've got that out the way, let's get started with, let's go ahead and dive right into Instagram. Let's knock this out. So when we start talking about Instagram and video captions, at this point, if you are a content creator, you already know captions are important for a lot of different reasons. Not just because they're trendy, but also because for those individuals who are hard of hearing and things of that nature, the captions do provide value, understandably. And for those of you too who like to watch your little videos at work, sitting in your little cubicles, I know a lot of you are going back to the cubicle life and you hate it, but when it comes down to watching your fave Instagram reels, having the captions is a blessing to you. So the boss doesn't know exactly what you're doing when you're supposed to be working. So at the end of the day, this is good news. This is good news for everybody. Good news for content creators, good news for everybody else who are watching your creations now. At the end of the day, this is going to be auto generated. That's why I said made easy, because at this point, almost every platform, well, not every, but a lot of them at this point, of course, you can get captions on your videos in various ways, but Instagram understands the if we make it easier for people to do, more people will do it. Understandably, that, and they're correct in that. So the auto-generated captions are coming to everybody. You don't have to be on Android, you don't have to be on iOS, you don't have to be quote unquote creator influencer, because those two, the definitions of those two get blurred all the time. But everybody, auto generated captions for your videos on IGTV. So, yay. What is that going to look like? Well, it looks like everything else, in all honesty. I can't really say it's going to be, um, how do I say this? I can't say it's going to be anything different than what you've seen other places, because it ain't. Not even a little bit. It'll look just like, let me set it up for you real pretty. Hold on. I got my monitor set up, but I got it set up differently today. So let's go over here. Let's see if I can get it right. Maybe not. We'll just have to deal with this right here. There you go. Okay, so when we start talking about what is it going to look like in your feed, real easy peasy. Here you go. That's what it's going to look like. Okay. Nothing truly exciting. Sorry. But quite functional. And sometimes functional is what you need in life. Indeed. Okay. So that's what the new auto captions will look like in your videos. Yay. So, you know what? Big ups to Instagram with the auto generated captions. I'm going to give them a little applause on that. Just a little, not much. That's good. That's good. All right. So that's enough of that. Now, IGTV. I told you a couple of weeks ago, IGTV within the app has already gone. It's folded into one big video hub. So your videos that are longer than 1 minute, videos that are longer than 1 minute on Instagram, all in one little video hub on your Instagram app. You have that little shelf of icons, and the one that looks like a play icon, that's where you need to go. But as far as the separate IGTV app, it's out of here, gone, fini, done. Whatever language you say, killed, ain't no more. We out. It's done. No more. Now, for some, I suspect for most of you, that means absolutely nil. For most of you, a lot of you are probably in the mindset of not doing videos longer than maybe a minute or two on Instagram. But for those of you that were doing longer videos, because people like me and the Instagram platform told you it was cool to do for at least 2 years, 3 years. Oh yeah, do longer videos. Well, we're beginning to change our teaching on that a little bit, because you want to do what the platform is favoring right now. And right now, Instagram is favoring what? Reels, 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 and more reels. Okay, so Short form video is the hotness, it's the trend, and it ain't going anywhere. Kind of like hip hop. You thought it was just going to be a flash in the pan. It ain't. Kind of like reality TV too. At the end of the day, short form video is where it's at right now. Okay, so wrap your mind around that. And then if you are indeed doing videos longer than a minute and you are making money from those in-stream ads, well, your coin just got shorter. Yep. Mm-hmm. The monetization on videos longer than a minute, those little videos, those little ads, gone. They're gone too. And they're gone too, which also means the money around them that they were making is gone too. Now, before you clutch your pearls, like, for real? The reality of it is you can still make money in other ways using your Instagram reels. You just won't rely on outside people to do it. You can still promote your own stuff, your own content, your own products, various ways on Instagram. Okay, so if you are making money with the ads, you just got to think out of the box just a wee bit and figure out how to replace that particular ad. Matter of fact, you can produce your own. If you're making content longer than a minute or two minutes to 3 minutes, drop your own ads in there that you've created. I've seen people do it. It can be done. Yes, it requires more work, admittedly, but at the end of the day, it can be done. The question is, what are you willing to do? That's always the question, isn't it? So that's Instagram in a nutshell. Well, one piece of Instagram for today: auto captions. Auto captions coming to the platform. Yay. And not only auto captions, but IGTV, the separate app, gone. No more. And the monetization within those videos longer than 1 minute, now gone too. A lot of different things being shuffled around on Instagram. And it's hard, I know, to stay up to date with everything. That's where I come in to help you with that. So, should you still do videos longer than 1 minute on Instagram? Here's the thing, people. However long it takes you to do the video, if you get hung up on the time to the point where it stops you from create it however you see it, and then go back and make it shorter. Okay? Yes, that sounds like more work. But at the end of the day, you got to keep in mind, how long does it take to get that messaging out that you're trying to do? One, does it take a minute? Does it take 2 minutes? Does it take 3? If you're venturing into 5 minutes, that's a bit long, especially for Instagram. You might want to jump on over to YouTube or something of that nature, or even Facebook Watch, whatever. But at the end of the day, focus on the messaging. Focus on doing quality video first. Then, if you can make it shorter, cut out some of that fat, cut the fat out of the video. Then, if you can keep it probably down to a minute or less, wonderful. If you can't, don't beat yourself up about it, okay? Just do what you can do and keep testing, keep working at it till you get that sweet spot for your videos, okay? So do not let all of these changes that Instagram is trying to take everybody through so they can compete with TikTok stress you. Just do what you can do and continue working on it and continue testing what works for you, not just what works for the platform. Okay, so that said, let's move on to other news because there's more to discuss besides Instagram. Let's talk TikTok. Almost wanted to say a distant cousin, but they're not even related because they're they're in the same family as far as short form video, as far as Instagram Reels and TikTok. Because as you know by now, Instagram is pulling all its stops and trying to compete with TikTok. And so where Instagram is pushing you to do shorter videos, TikTok is now pushing you to do longer if you want. TikToks can now be done even longer. Now, here's the thing. Here's the evolution of things. And it's been somewhat of a short evolution, all things considered. It used to be Instagrams were what, a couple of seconds. I mean, not Instagrams, but TikToks were a couple of seconds. Okay. And then you adjusted to that. 15 seconds, then 30, then a minute. Okay. But now you are looking at, okay, well, what's the big thing now? So 15 seconds, then 60 seconds, 3 minutes, basically the length of your average song. Then it went to 5 minutes, and now we are at 10 minutes on TikTok. What? 10 minutes on TikTok? Damn, you're right. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. The clock is running a little longer now with TikTok. Why, oh why, oh why? When Instagram is making things or pushing you to do shorter, at least up to a minute, okay, TikTok is now pushing into doing longer. That seems odd, doesn't it? Well, here's the thing. People, you got to realize when it comes down to social media platforms, which are beginning to look more like traditional as far as their monetization in some things, you got to remember these platforms, they need places to put advertising, which is why I said social and traditional TV are beginning to look a lot alike. Traditional TV, people buy ads to put in TV shows. The more money you spend, seemingly, the better time slot you can get for your ad, which is why Super Bowl ads are so damn expensive. Okay? Which is also why, because TV ads are so expensive, people spend a lot of money, not as much money, but they spend a lot of money with TikTok, Instagram, and the likes because the budgets are a little bit smaller. The budget spend is a little bit smaller in doing ads for social. The platforms, remember people, these platforms are businesses. First and foremost, they do not exist just for your creature comforts anymore. They are now bona fide media outlets, in my opinion, media distributors, media publishers, and thus they're heretofore. They want to monetize the content you create primarily for free. Yeah, let me just put it that. I mean, a lot of us don't like to put it that way because then you realize you're putting in a lot of work, a lot of hours, a lot of time, a lot of effort creating videos that may or may not pay off. That's a truism. Now, somebody might try to spin that a little bit more positively, but at the end of the day, you got to understand these platforms are fluctuating in the time length of the content they say they want because they're trying to test what works best in creating space for advertisers, but not to the point where they piss off the users. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So, hey, Pat. Hey, Yolanda. I'm sorry. I always forget how to say your name, and I do wholeheartedly apologize. Uh, could you spell it phonetically for me, please? Is it because it's spelled Yolanda, but some people might, because it's not an O in it. So I don't pronounce it incorrectly anymore. And I want to be confident in what I'm saying. Okay, so, yes, Pat, 10 minutes. That's way long. Yeah, it's long. But like I said before, TikTok is testing longer videos. Why? Of course, they want to keep you on the platform longer. And two, because TikTok right now is really building up its ad uh, platform for small businesses, any businesses really. And so they need content, longer content to put the ads in. Because trying to put ads in a 30-second video or 15, it's rude, it's interruptive, and it just messes up the whole experience and watching videos on the platform. So longer videos give them ample space to put adver- advertisements, whatever you want to call them, but it not seem so abruptive. Basically becoming, like I said before, traditional television. Just you're watching it on a mobile phone via an app. Okay, so that's one thing with TikTok. So TikTok got longer. I don't know whether I should applaud that or not, but for some of you, that will take the pressure off of trying to squeeze everything into a tight time frame. However, you got to remember your audience too. A TikTok audience, they're not necessarily there to see videos longer than 10 minutes. If you can create something for 10 minutes that's engaging and keep people watching longer than, I'd say, 30 seconds, cool, wonderful. Do that. Keep testing, keep creating, see what works, see what gets a view. Because we hear a lot about views. Everybody's talking about getting 10,000 views, 5,000 views. And a lot of my social media managers and professionals, they're not going to break down for you what a view really is. A view on TikTok is literally a couple of things. A view on TikTok is one, an autoplay, 3 seconds, just like on Facebook, just like on Instagram. A view is also on TikTok, the engagement that somebody gets on your video. So if they like it, they comment, whatever, that's considered a view. Technically, you would think if they watched your video long enough, that would influence that like or that comment or whatever, right? But I don't want to come out and say that in many instances these views are inflated. Okay, damn it, I just said it. Okay. I just I just want us to keep it 100 with people when we start talking about these views, because a 3-second view and it's an autoplay. Did they really view your video, or did they scroll past your video? Did they really see it? Because you're putting all of this effort into doing these videos, and then the algorithms are going to show it to people, and then they're going to end up in feeds, and a lot of those feeds are just going to scroll past it. But a scroll past and an autoplay is not what I consider a view. It's a roll past, drive by, scroll by, whatever you want to call it. But the platforms call it a view. And so the more views you get, the platforms understand if we give this person a pat on the back and tell them we got a view, they'll create more videos. Pretty much. It is marketing is psychology, people. I just want you to understand that. So there, like I said, you will probably find another social media manager who will say, well, she's wrong, da 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 da. But look at the data. I mean, really look at your insights. Look at your data. There's a reason why Facebook tells you there is a 3-second, a 10-second, and a minute. There's a reason why YouTube says a view is 30 seconds. That's a little bit more honest to me than telling me somebody saw something I created that lasted 30 seconds to a minute and they only saw 3 seconds. If that. Okay, so let me get off my soapbox with that and move on. So let's see. What's my other story for today? We're done with the TikTok as far as that element of it. TikTok now 10 minutes. 10 minutes for a TikTok video. Just, yeah, okay. It sounds crazy, but it is what it is. But let's get into the investigation. Dun dun. Okay, so there's always drama around social media these days and the impact it has on young people. Yeah. And there is a new investigation going on. Oh, that's not the right one I was supposed to use. There's a new investigation regarding TikTok and the impact it's having on young minds. This is being pushed forward primarily by the U.S. Attorney Generals across, within the country. Not all of them, but a good number of them throughout the country. And I do believe the Attorney General here in the state of North Carolina is a part of that. So, why, oh, why? Well, we know, you kind of know why. I mean, these are the same attorney generals who did something similar with Instagram. Was it last year? Looking at the negative impact that the platform was having on young minds. Now they're doing that for TikTok. And we, like I said, we know why. Yes, there can be some negative impact with social media as far as how much time is spent, the kinds of content that's there, and the kinds of content that people consume on the platform. There can be some issues because the algorithms feed to you more of what you seem to be engaging with. So you don't really get a diversity of opinions. You don't get a diversity of content. You get the same thing fed to you over and over and over again because they want to feed you what you seemingly like based on your engagement. All right. So yes, there is some problems in that, especially when we start talking about young minds, but there are a lot of older minds too that are just as greatly impacted by social media. But I understand why we want to focus so much on young people. All right. So, not to mention, if you saw Tuesday's State of the Union address, President Biden is also pushing forward, this messaging about the impact of social media on young people. Well, TikTok responds this way. Look, quote unquote, we look forward to providing information on the many safety and privacy protections we have for teens. Okay. So TikTok is doing what it's supposed to do, seemingly, as far as quote unquote protecting teens from harmful images, harmful messaging, and things of that nature. But when you got a platform as big as that, and at the end of the day, you've got people, because you can't control people. You can control an algorithm, you can control features on a platform, but you can't control people. And people are the bigger problem in my professional and personal opinion when it comes to social media, because who creates these platforms? People. Who consumes the content? People. Now, where we're getting into this area where we now are media outlets. Every one of us can get a phone or a professional camera. We can create the content we want, and these platforms distribute it for free to their benefit primarily and to your benefit secondarily. So at the end of the day, yes, there can be some issues, understandably. Now, what I find interesting is this. I was watching this show called The Talk. I know some of you may not know or be familiar with The Talk. I work from home, so I am able to see I'm able to see talk shows and things of that nature throughout the day. But this one particular thing really caught my interest because when we start talking about the impact of social media, especially those of us who are Gen uh, Gen X, because we really don't come up in conversation much anymore like we used to, and all the conversation is around young people, and even younger people, millennials and Gen Z, Gen X, and boomers. It's like we don't even count. Okay, fine. But when it comes down to this particular conversation about, or this debate about the negative impact social media is having on young people, I want to add this one little piece. But first, I want you to listen to this. Now, this is a clip that the talk show, The Talk on CBS, put on Twitter. So let's go over here to my browser. So play. Oops, I gotta turn up the sound. Hold on.
I have two 13-year-old daughters. Okay, listen here. Listen here. You don't need to do a study on this at all. I have two 13-year-old daughters. TikTok is really bad, man. It is dangerous. It is. I'm watching it. I watch my kids get depressed from it. New Year's Eve, I'm there with my wife, my parents. We're at a fancy restaurant. It was like you had to prepay $200 a head. Ooh. It was fancy. Wow. We were going to do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I see my kids, like, we're at the table. They're like, can we have our phones back? I'm like, okay. They start scrolling. Everything was fine. They're seeing their friends who are, like, having an amazing time. Yeah. And my kids immediately became depressed. Right. They immediately got that FOMO. And we're sitting in a restaurant that is $200 a head for New Year's Eve that we had to prepay for. And I was like, girls, and it was a nice restaurant. There's a band playing. I was like, girls, this is where the party's at. Trust me, it's not on your phone. Yeah. That's what this social media does. You know, Cheryl said in the morning meeting, they're trying to elongate these videos to try and maybe get older people to watch because we're used to more long-form stuff instead of these 15-second things.
Well, they just want to keep the eyeballs.
I don't know what they're doing. We don't need a study. TikTok, all social media needs to be super regulated. We're regulated. I mean, and let me tell you why. Because actually, like children, my children are consumed with this. It needs to be, imagine it's for baby formula. I mean, baby formula is regulated. You give that to infants.
That's right.
Social media needs to be regulated. Yeah.
But how do you do that? I mean, it's like containing the wild, wild west right now. I get it that there are algorithms, but these algorithms have been formatted and formulated so much so that it gets around any safety protocols. It comes down to parenting is what it really comes down to. Well, and I will say, no, listen, I will say.
You know what? I challenge anyone to try and get a phone out of my children's hands. I mean, it is a physical altercation.
I agree, and I know it's impossible because as a parent, it is impossible for me to know what my kids are doing at all times of the day on TikTok or any other social platform. That said, I do think, you know, it does come down to like, you got to just take the phone away. At a certain point in time, lock the phone up. Got to just say, okay, certain hours you can be on your phone, and that's it.
I think that all goes together. I think parenting, it goes together. Studying to find out what it's doing to young people's psyche. But the government has got to step up, and they got to stop acting like they can't do anything about this. They need to legislate some of this stuff because they know these algorithms and all of this information is designed to mess with your mind. And I think that the government needs to step up.
Yeah, and we heard you talked about.
Okay. As you heard, great debate, great debate, great debate, great debate, great discussion there amongst the co-hosts of CBS The Talk. Here's my 2 cents on this great debate. And it's funny to me how those of us who work in traditional media, Gen X especially, entertainers especially, we act as if traditional media did not set this up for social media to do the alley-oop, okay? So I can tell you traditional media, print, television, even radio to a degree, but primarily television and print. And then we can get into, just regular online stuff in general. It's funny to me how we act as if something didn't come before social media that doesn't impact young minds. Now you can say, well, young people don't watch television anymore. They're watching everything on their phones. They're still watching movies. They're still playing these video games, a lot of which are quite violent, but I don't hear the complaint where that's concerned, because that complaint has already been made. It was made back in the 90s. It was made back in the 2000s about the violence that is in and the misogyny and all the negative stuff that we see in video games, yet we act like that doesn't exist. I can point to 1,001 different examples of what's happening in traditional television that has negative impacts on people. And that's generational. That didn't just start. The reality of it is media as a whole. Social media platforms are only owned by a couple of people. And if we're honest, in traditional media, most of your media is only owned by a small group of people too. Okay, so both have their pluses, have their minuses, have their advantages, have their disadvantages. But in many instances, I think it's a little hypocritical for those of us who are in traditional media to just point the finger at social media and act as if social media is the good pariah now. It's not. These issues have been around for generations. We were having these same conversations about television and film over 20 years ago. And we're still having these conversations about what people are seeing. Of course, regular TV is mandated. Certain things are mandated by the FCC. But that doesn't stop the negative imagery that we see and the violence we see and some of the other things we see on regular television. Okay? So I just find it interesting that those of us who work in television, traditional television and media as a whole, we are so quick to say social media, that's the problem. That's the biggest problem impacting young minds. Well, the reality of it is, like I said, traditional media set this up generations ago. And now that social media is following some of the same patterns as traditional media, the only difference is it's not controlled by, the platforms are controlled by a certain select number of people. But the content creators, it's everybody. As opposed to traditional TV, that's a whole different set of people. And generally those people are paid to create content on a consistent basis, as opposed to generating content for free by anybody who has a cell phone or camera or whatever else. But people, in my opinion, are the biggest problem. It's not just the platforms. And yes, indeed, there may need to be some regulation. That indeed is true. But I want y'all to discern who's making these comments, because here's another truism that we in traditional media don't like to talk about. The traditional media understands that the eyeballs that used to watch traditional media, television shows, are now watching other places, which means that advertising dollar is lessening in traditional media and now being moved to other places where the eyeballs stay longer. That might create some sincere competition in trying to get rid, I don't necessarily say get rid of one, because they're not going to get rid of social media. But at the end of the day, just discern who's making these complaints. Discern the bigger picture in this great debate about what's negatively impacting young people. It's not just social media, it is media as a whole, and the fact that now media is no longer in the hands of a select few. And this is a person who's worked in media over 20 years. Okay, so I've seen it from all different sides. Okay, so Pat, you say we weren't allowed to have the TV on during dinner. Yes, we watched Jerry talk about, he gave his kids their phones back doing their New Year's Eve dinner. Well, I'm not a parent, so I don't want anybody talking about, well, how you gonna give anybody parenting advice? I don't even raise a cactus, okay? But I had old school parenting. If they didn't want you to have it, you didn't. Point blank. You didn't. But at the end of the day, we have to evolve, and where things are right now, trying to wrestle with social media, because everybody wants to be on social media, even entertainment entities, because they understand the value of social media too. Because the irony of that is, on one end, in that same show, they praise social media for allowing people in the Ukraine to show us what's happening as the Russians are invading their country. In the same show, cut to commercial, come back, and now they're saying, hey, social media, specifically TikTok, needs to be gotten rid of, or it needs to be regulated. Okay, this conversation will continue. But that's my 2 cents on it. And I want y'all to understand there's a bigger conversation going on than just what's popping on social media. But there's a business conversation going on as well. Okay. So let's see. Did I miss anything? Did I miss any other comments? Any other comments? No. Okay. So that's it. That's it. I'm out. I'm done. I thank everybody for coming through. For those of you that are watching the replay, and I know you will, thank you for coming through. For those of you that came in live, Pat, hey, Pat. And for those of you lurking who don't say anything, I see you. I appreciate you too. Yolanda, hey. So for all of you making comments, thank you, thank you, thank you. For those of you that are a little shy and want to make comments later, I'm open to that too. Just go ahead and use the tools that are available to you. Feel free, please. Feel free to make some comments, respectfully. Make some comments, because I would love to hear what you have to say. That said, before I get out of here, next Wednesday, in fact, I am doing an event. This is just a general conversation about social media and how it's impacting. No, this is a conversation. It's about social media, but specifically, it's more about, can you really do social media effectively without Facebook? Is it possible? Could you really do social media without Facebook? So, and I'm raising this conversation because, not that I'm anti-Facebook, so let's get off that, but some of what Facebook does concern me to a degree, just like everybody else. But I also want to discuss, I just want to get a general idea where people are in their thinking about Facebook now, especially now that in the last, year or so, we've had so much drama. We've had so many different things happening. And I'll put the link in, if you're watching on Facebook, I'll put the link in the chat. If you're watching on Twitter, I'll put it in the comments. And it's a free event, free webinar, or just, I don't even want to call it a webinar because then y'all will get bored real quick. But I just want to get some people together who use Facebook and use social media as a whole. And let's talk about, can you do social media marketing effectively if you take Facebook out of the conversation? I know that's a lot of people don't want to have that conversation at all, especially those who are making lots of money being Facebook marketing experts. But I'm not trying to impact their coin at all. I just want to have a conversation about what our thinking is collectively, especially as we're looking into the future of social media. Yes, Pat, you say sounds interesting. Yeah, I hope so. So I'll put the Eventbrite link in various places so everybody can find it. Like I said, it's free. It is next Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay? So have a blessed weekend, people. Be safe. If you're heading out to the movies, doesn't Batman come out this weekend? I think it does. Yeah, I think it does. So for those of you heading to Batman this weekend, be safe. For those of you heading out in the streets, wherever you are, be safe. And I'll see you next week, same time, same place, same platforms, unless they throw me off, which is quite possible, considering what I've said today. But I will see you next week. Bye-bye.